All right. Yasharahla. All praises belong to the Most High. This is Bishop AZARIYAH of the Beckles Hebrew Bible Academy. We're an accredited school. This video is just a disclaimer. This is a fair use warning. We're not making any money off of this. It's only for educational purposes. So I'm going to let the video play. And it's by a call for an uprising, and it's very this is a very edifying video which backs up what me and the brothers who are Hebrew Israelites have been bringing forth in our videos, breaking down Revelation chapter 13, and specifically Revelation 13 to 16, and how this pertains to Bible prophecy. The Bible is definitely a true book, and these events that's going on is proving that to be true more and more. All right, the Bible is a true book, and the mark of the beast is upon us. And this guy is bringing it out. So I'm gonna let the video play. And it's in accordance to the Fair Use Act and obeying the guidelines. Okay, it's not copyrighted, and I will. And I'm stating where this video is from, so you can check it out for yourself. It's a call for an uprising. All right, very edifying video. All right, so listen up.
West Coast, some of the states in Central America, which pretty much I've just mentioned pretty much all of America, but obviously there's states that are a little bit lenient. Texas has been a little bit lenient. Florida obviously has been a little bit lenient. You can see that there's actually sporting events going on in some of these states where there's fans allowed, in some states where they're not. But it's still a complete lockdown for most people. You have to wear a mask to go to the grocery. You have to wear a mask to go here. You have to wear a mask to go there. You have to get the test if you want to travel somewhere, right? Which is preventing people from going away or leaving or anything else or entering other states without being quarantined. It's making people isolate themselves, self-quarantine, aka self-imprison themselves. So we have all of this stuff happening at the same time, but look how they're sneakily starting to move things, again, to the wrist. Right? Just like the credit card, I talked about the cell phone, from the cell phone going to the Apple Watch. Now they're talking about going from the cell phone with social tracking to going to a bracelet. And you don't think that's something where they can just go, oh, well, you just put a chip in you and, it'll just make a sound, or they could mandate it because people are continuing to be undisciplined in America and violating this. This is nonsense. This is against our rights. And it's amazing to me that this long into this process, which, look, I struggle to deal with this stuff on a daily basis because I'm so pissed off, it's just another way for them to completely control people's behavior, to control people and isolate people from people. Remember 1984? I showed the clips from 1984. I even put the movie on here for people to watch. I don't know if anybody's watched the full movie, understandable, but what's important to know about 1984, whether you've read the book or seen the movie, is that what you're seeing going on right now with this outbreak is exactly how they're getting people distanced from each other and isolated into their own homes and imprisoned in their own homes in a quote-unquote either police state or military state, right? In that movie, we saw how men and women, you couldn't interact, you weren't even allowed to speak to each other, and it was just insane, people would thought, because they said that would never happen. Well, now we're seeing that happen, right? I've talked about examples of this. I've heard you guys comment on my videos, read you guys comment on my videos, or on my website, callfornuprising.com, and talk about, going to the grocery store, and how people are making eye contact, how people, if you get within 4 feet, they kind of jump backwards, right? if somebody doesn't have a mask on, they're disgusted with that person because they're endangering their health. Right? This is all created through social engineering. This is what the media has done. But remember, the end game is to get people microchipped here. Now, whether you believe that the chip is coming through the actual vax when it comes out, and remember too, another thing that I talked about, which I'll get to in a second, but whether it's through the vax or whether it's through people, having to have a chip implanted to buy and sell, and live that way with cashless society. But remember I talked about this a while ago. What you're seeing right now is the beginning of a crackdown where people are really getting so frustrated with all this stuff. You hear the narrative in the media, well, it's fall, people have been doing this for 8 months, they no longer want to follow these rules, and there's another uptick because people aren't behaving, right? And what this is just them trying to continue to frustrate people to the point where 3 months ago they might have said, I would never take a shot. 8 months ago, I would never have taken one. That's what people will say, no chance. But now, you know what, to end this, to be able to travel, to be able to leave their homes and go places. Now, some of you might say, well, it's not like that where I live. Well, there's a lot of states that are still completely, on the East Coast, on the West Coast, some of the states in Central America, which pretty much I've just mentioned pretty much all of America, but obviously there's states that are a little bit lenient. Texas has been a little bit lenient. Florida obviously has been a little bit lenient. You can see that there's actually sporting events going on in some of these states where there's fans allowed, in some states where they're not. But it's still a complete lockdown for most people. You have to wear a mask to go to the grocery. You have to wear a mask to go here. You have to wear a mask to go there. You have to get the test if you want to travel somewhere, right? Which is preventing people from going away or leaving or anything else or entering other states without being quarantined. It's making people isolate themselves, self-quarantine, aka self-imprison themselves. So we have all of this stuff happening at the same time, but look how they're sneakily starting to move things, again, to the wrist, right? Just like the credit card, I talked about the cell phone, from the cell phone going to the Apple Watch. Now they're talking about going from the cell phone with social tracking to going to a bracelet. And you don't think that's something where they can just go, oh, well, you just put a chip in you and, it'll just make a sound, or they can mandate it because people are continuing to be undisciplined in America and violating this. This is nonsense. This is against our rights, and it's amazing to me that this long into this process, which, look, I struggle to deal with this stuff on a daily basis because I'm so pissed off. And people used to say to me, like, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, how do you sit through this stuff and make these videos and not lose your mind? And I was stronger then, because this right now, what's going on to me is the most insane thing I think I've ever seen. Because we've watched everyone give their rights up. How many people have lost their jobs? How many businesses have had to close because of this nonsense? It's more dangerous for somebody to text and drive than the statistics that they give on this, which aren't even real statistics because nothing's really happening, right? And then they come out with all these things where they're like, well, if you question the WHO, if you question so-and-so, you're a danger and a detriment to society for having a difference of opinion or questioning anything. Why don't you just let us be crazy people then and not agree with it, right? Well, they say, oh, then you'll die off. But of course, it's because we could be endangering other people. The nonsense just continues and continues on. But the chipping and the moving things to the wrist is something I've always talked about, how they commonly are doing that. And again, I mentioned Tomorrowland, right? That's a stupid concert thing. I talked about that 4 years ago. And all these events that they were starting to hold, where they were doing cashless events, where people were loading money on a bracelet and wearing it. And going to these events, instead of getting cash out, they were using the bracelets, which was preparing people subconsciously, especially, obviously, the youth, the ones who are going to be all on board, wanting to be chipped, wanting a cashless society, who are already used to a cashless society for the most part because they pay for everything electronically. So getting them prepared to take the mark, take the chip inside them. And now we have the contact tracing and these inventions and these whispers. The WHO is talking about implementing some type of mandatory social distancing device such as a watch/bracelet as well onto people. So you go to the grocery store, you get within 5 feet of somebody, I mean, really? It's almost like, going out with an ankle bracelet on and you're on home arrest. And people still look at this and they don't believe that we're on house arrest when we are on house arrest. You might see a lot of cars out, people, around going places, but still, you gotta go in the store, put on your mask, follow the rules as they continue to strip rights away, and then they continue on top of it to take free speech away. Because they say people who speak against any of this stuff are a danger to the rest of the world, and they shouldn't be allowed to talk about it. And people are okay with it. Frightening to think about. There's plenty of stuff that I have to talk about, lots of videos coming this week, lots of new videos coming to my website at callfornuprising.com. I'm glad, and I hope everybody's still here. This is the time of year where it's pretty hard for me not to do videos because we're upon the season here of the witch, which you'll see a video coming out shortly on. We all know that Halloween is coming up and what goes on. So we have all this other nonsense happening with the fake news and the phony election and all this crap. But we also have ritual season here, which is very important to remember for spiritual warfare. That we all have to keep our shields up, our guards up, stay in prayer, and fight against this. Because these people during this period, they believe, whether you believe it or not, that the veil is the thinnest. This is where they summon demons, they cast spells, and look, they ain't doing it, casting evil spells and stuff on, anybody really other than their own enemies, which really are Christians, right? The people that despise the witches and the Satanists of this world. So keep your guard up, and thank everybody again. I want to thank the patrons who have remained patrons through this hard time for everybody. But, I'm just kind of rambling. I haven't talked in a while, but thank you all again. Watch out for the social distancing bracelet. It's an absolute joke. God bless all of you and your families.